Arizona Cardinals and their latest mock draft. Now, starting things off here with round 1, pick number 23, a very interesting pick, and I like it here, but Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback out of LSU, and obviously for him, he had the Liz Frank injury that required surgery. Didn't really get to play too much last season. Now he's still anticipated to be a first-round pick. Your thoughts on Stingley's fit inside the Arizona Cardinals defense here with Vance Joseph? And look, a lot of questions for this Cardinals team coming into the 2022 NFL season.
Yeah, I like the fit. I think especially in Vance Joseph's defense, a lot of blitz heavy. You need a guy who's going to be able to play on an island and, hold his ground one-on-one with a wide receiver. I think Derek Stingley is one of the best guys at doing that in this class. And not just with his arms, with his feet, only with his base. He's very good at using that feet first with his fluidity, his twitch, and sticking to guys and giving them not an inch of space, So I think sticking, having that physicality, and then when the ball comes his way, he's a very good playmaker as well. People talk about, how his best year was 2019 and he kind of trended down since then. But I think even in 2021, he had some really good reps where the ball didn't come his way. And that was because he was blanketing receivers with that twitch, that fluidity, staying low in his stance and really being technically sound. So I love that part of his game. Apparently he's been fully healthy. He's got a pro day scheduled this week, I think, where he's going to show off his traits. So he looks like he's good to go. And if that's the case, to me personally, looking at the tape, I think you can make a case that he's still a blue chip prospect at the corner position. Obviously could fall because of the medical concerns, but if he is there at this point, I think if you're the Cardinals, you have to take him because that's phenomenal value.
And he also wore that coveted number 7 at LSU, which is, we all know, is like the number you give the biggest playmaker at the college, and everyone's starting at some point, and he absolutely did that for them. And honestly, you add him into this team, throw him alongside like Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons. They are a very athletic style defense, quickly kind of building out there in the NFC East. NFC West, and you're going to need it. Another thing they're looking at needing right now is you've got to find that plan to replace Chandler Jones. And you have them kind of all going after that here in the second round, pick 55, with Drake Jackson, the edge rusher at LSU. How do you like this fit coming here, pairing alongside like a TJ Watt? Obviously, we're not expecting to have that, 5-sack opening game like we saw to Chandler Jones last year, finished the season with 10.5. How do you like Jackson fitting into this defense?
Yeah, Drake Jackson, USC, not LSU. I think you were, Stingley, LSU.
Oh, was I? Did I say that?
Yeah.
He came from USC.
Yeah, USC is where he came from, and he's an interesting prospect in that I think he's been buried a little bit based on the edge rushers, and there's so many good edge rushers in this class. There's over a dozen in maybe the day 3 range that you're looking at there. And Drake Jackson, early on, he was in a lot of first-round mocks. He's kind of fallen under the radar now, but looking at him, I still think he's a prospect worthy of that top 50 hype. The hand usage is something that, it wasn't great early in his career. It didn't quite develop to the level where I would have liked it to. But I think you look at the physical traits. That's where you start with Drake Jackson. I mean, he is explosive. He's got very good length, 34-inch arms, around 6'3", and I think he's got a 254. I think he was close to 270 at his pro day. So, he's got that strong frame, that dense frame, but 34-inch arms, very good proportional length as well. And then looking at the athleticism, this guy had a 36.5-inch vertical and a 127-inch broad jump at the NFL Combine. You see those numbers on tape. He's very explosive off the snap, very good at getting displacement and getting a step on tackles. And then from there, he can surge inside the pocket. I love how they used him too. He was a stand-up rusher. He was stunting inside sometimes. He's got that versatility to him. And I think if you're the Cardinals, getting that stand-up edge rusher who has the size and the explosiveness, all the traits are there. I think in a couple of years, you could be looking at a guy who's potentially getting double-digit sacks. So the upside is there, has some work to do with the hand usage, but you're banking on traits, and we know the Cardinals love to do that.
Well, let's take a look here. Round number 3, pick number 87. They obviously add depth to a position in here with Calvin Austin, the third wide receiver out of Memphis. And as we know, Memphis, they love those speed products there. And for the Arizona Cardinals, a high-octane offense when healthy. They're looking for that. I mean, they've lost so many guys. They lost Christian Kirk, AJ Green at this point. We don't know whether or not he is or isn't coming back to them in free agency. DeAndre Hopkins coming off of an injury. It's like, okay, hey, wide receiver is a little bit of a concern. Yes, you lock up Zach Ertz and you still have Max Williams at the tight end position. But, man, I tell you what, we saw exactly what happened with the Cardinals offense. Once D-Hop got hurt, they need to find somebody that can be reliable. Can Calvin Austin III come in and maybe be a reliable target here for Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I can see the hesitation with Calvin Austin because they added Rondale Moore, who obviously wasn't an overwhelming size threat.
Smallest A-dot in the league.
Exactly. So it's like you see that, and then you look at Calvin Austin, who's around 5'7", 3/4, 170 pounds. Like why are we doing this again, right? But I think Calvin Austin, to me, I can't go back and rank them prospects side by side, but I do know I'm very high on Calvin Austin, regardless of his size. You look at how he plays, the athleticism that he has. This dude is a separation machine. I'll just come out and say it. Like, he has the technical refinement and the high-end athleticism in those short areas. Super twitchy, super explosive. And then he's got 4.32 speed as well. So, he can get a step on defensive backs by, getting them off balance with his release, exploding by them. And then once he gets a step, he's hard to catch up to because he can just gear up just like that. So I think the separation ability in the short range combined with the ability to stretch the field, you look at his route tree, it's very refined. He's very detailed. He doesn't, there's no wasted movement with him. Very refined, very technically sound. And then combining that with the athleticism, I think it's a good way of maximizing his physical traits. And, even though he's never going to be a high-end contested catch threat, he does have 31-inch arms, so good proportional length for his frame, can at least extend beyond that frame, control his body, and make some tough catches. Again, I think if you're the Cardinals, this is a guy who can stretch your field and really relieve the pressure from other receiving weapons. So I'm a big fan of Calvin Austin and what he has to offer. I think if you use him the right way, you're looking at potentially a game-changing talent for your offense.
The big thing is you just got to hope that Cliff Kingsbury, who utilizes him better than he did Rondell Moore last year, like talking about that 1.78 dot, that's not going to cut it for someone who is a playmaker of his kind of style. So I do like the Calvin Austin pairing. The problem for the Arizona Cardinals, they've got to make these picks count because they don't have a lot else in terms of draft capital. We look at the rest of their board sitting here in round 6, pick 200. They get Logan Bruss, the offensive tackle out of Wisconsin. They have a double dip again here in round 6 at 216 with Tylen Humphrey, the defensive tackle out of Louisiana. So they've really got to capitalize on those first 3 rounds if they're going to try to make a big move and try to compete with the rest of a very competitive NFC West division.
Yeah. Going back to the guys that you mentioned, Tylen Humphrey, they call him Big Sauce out of Louisiana. Very good nose tackle. I think he's underrated. He was on Feldman's Freaks this past year, so he's got some athleticism. And looking at his tape, very good at two-gapping. I think the Cardinals, they had Corey Peters. They might have released, I can't remember if they re-signed him to like a 1-year deal or something. But either way, they don't have a long-term option at nose. So getting a guy who can potentially two-gap is very big. Logan Bruss, he has that right tackle experience, but I think he can move into guard as well. So that was the thought process behind that. And then, just the rest of it, Isaiah Pacheco, obviously a very good athletic tester at the NFL Combine, flash receiving ability at the collegiate level. So I think get him in there with his raw traits and a very dense frame too. I like that fit behind James Conner as well.